Welcome to the booth. Brian David Marshall here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer and Pro Tour champion Randy Buehler, and we are ready to go with our third quarterfinal. Let's send it down to the floor and see Ondrej Strasky in action against Ohlschwager. Quarterfinal here at Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir. I'm Brian David Marshall, joined by Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and we are watching Ondrej Strasky. There you see him, the 19-year-old playing in his second Pro Tour top 8 of his career, end of the season. Just 19 years old, playing with Team Well Played with the cabin crew, Czech player. And there you see Andrew Ohlschwager, American player, PTQer, guy's gotten here, the hard way a couple times. This is obviously the breakthrough performance of his career. What do you like in this matchup, Randy? What are we going to see here?
Well, we're going to see Strasky with a turn 1 Elvish Mystic. That is exactly the start that he needs to try to get out in front of this blue-black control deck. Did a deck tech with Strasky yesterday, and his version of the Devotion deck is particularly vulnerable to control. However, Andrew Ohlschwager's control deck, fully 8 dragons, not as many control elements. So it's like we've got the version of the Devotion deck that's bad against control, but the version of the control deck that's bad against Devotion. So
okay, and as you can see, Strasky started on 6 cards. He had a mulligan. I believe Andrew Ohlschwager also mulliganed his opening hand. So both players starting on 6, although one of Ohlschwager's 6 is Thoughtseize, and he gets to look at a hand of See the Unwritten, Courser of Kruphix, Sirach, the Hunt Caller, and Temple of Abandon. What do you take here?
It's certainly nice to be able to make sure he's not ramping into something ridiculous here. The choices are really Courser and Sirach. I probably take Sirach. He turns off the Ferocious ability for the See the Unwritten. Courser's the cheaper one, though, so he goes Courser.
Yeah. There you go. All right. New plan for Strasky.
Wow, he even drew that comes into play untapped land. He would have been able to play Courser on this turn.
Yeah, drew a mountain, but decides he doesn't have a turn 2 play any longer.
Yeah, so we get to come to the play tap land and the scry. The Thoughtseize choice there is pretty interesting. Of course, the Courser is certainly a source of card advantage, but the Hunt Caller seemed a little scarier.
Especially you see a Foul Tongue Invocation in hand. That's he may be planning to, what's he going to get, an elf with that?
He's going to get an elf with that.
And
Here is Sirach.
Yeah.
No haste yet, though.
Now we got a couple more points of power we got to assemble. So lots of land for Andrew Ohlschwager. He's got a Dragonlord Ojutai a couple turns away. He's got a Foul Tongue Invocation. He's going to reveal a dragon as he casts the Foul Tongue Invocation, so he can gain 4 life.
Ojutai was just in time.
Yeah, Ojutai, Dragonlord Ojutai off the top there.
He's doing this Foul Tongue Invocation main phase, I believe.
He is.
It is an instant, but does not want to let Strasky have that mana from that Elvish Mystic. And he doesn't have any counter spells. I mean, his only other line would have been to sort of represent a Silumgar's Scorn.
But he's seen most of the cards in Strasky's hand.
Strasky's thinking about this. Is he contemplating Sirach as the choice?
Certainly looks like he might be.
He's drawn a Dragonlord of Tarka since we last saw his hand. So he's definitely concerned about building up his mana. He's got See the Unwritten Dragonlord of Tarka. That's a 6 and a 7. So sacrificing the elf to go down to 3 is not great given what's in his hand. That said, Sirach all by itself represents a pretty hard-hitting creature. Pretty hard-hitting threat that Ohlschwager's going to have to deal with, so elf down.
But assuming just the Sirach lives for the rest of the game, it would be 5 turns to kill Ohlschwager now with the extra 5 life that he gained. Extra 4 life, I should say, that he gained. So,
Mystic helps that clock a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, Ohlschwager's got the Dragon Lord Ojutai that he's building up toward.
Does he have a white source?
He has Haven of the Spirit Dragon.
Oh, look at that.
Card
you-
has had such a good weekend. Haven of the Spirit
Yeah,
Dragons everywhere.
really reminiscent of a card like Academy Ruins or something along those lines. Just gives you this inevitability. Oh, there's a morph. Haste.
Indeed.
And attack for 8.
Yeah, I mean, Haven of the Spirit Dragon, the fact that it color fixes is relevant too. It's not just the ability to go get a dragon back in the late game. Both a land that has this spell roll, which is great late in the game. Color fixing comes up more than you'd think it would.
There you get a look at the land from Dragons of Tarkir. All right.
Ohlschwager has now drawn Hero's Downfall as well. So he's debating, does he tap out for Ojutai? Does he want to use his Hero's Downfall?
Well, he knows there's a See the Unwritten.
Yeah. Still only 4 mana for Strasky, but,
Wow, but
that's a Rattleclaw Mystic.
A Rattleclaw
exactly.
Mystic changes that very quickly.
So yeah, main phase, Hero's Downfall, Surrock. No Ferocious for you.
Looks like
Boon
Andre's
Satyr.
drawn a Boon Satyr.
Yeah, one of the things about Ohlschwager's blue-black control deck that sets it apart a little bit is that he's only got 2 sweepers. Just 2 copies of Crux of Fate. No Perilous Faults. Well, 1 Perilous Fault in the sideboard. No Perilous Faults for this game. Only the 2 Crux of Fate. No Aether Spouts. So Strasky's able to commit threats to the board maybe a little more aggressively than he would be in some matchups. Or some versions of the blue-black matchup, I mean.
Yeah, almost more of a mid-range blue-black deck than a traditional blue-black control deck.
Yeah, it's got 8 dragons and 2 sweepers, 2 wraths.
Strasky literally pulling his hair out here as he tries to figure out what to do. As he can't bestow.
He's got to know there's no Crux of Fate right now, right? Hero's Downfall just got pointed at Surrock the Huntcaller. So it seems like he just moves in with his Boon Satyr here, right?
Attacks for 2. In combat, gets the 3 mana from the Rattleclaw Mystic,
Sure.
and uses that mana to bestow Boon Satyr, get in for 6. Wow, that's great.
Rattleclaw Mystic is now 6/3.
6/3 and robust, right? Because if you kill it, then
Wow.
the Boon Satyr's going to fall off, and you'll have a threat on the board.
Yeah, it attacks into Ojutai pretty well, and he's seen the Ojutai since it was revealed in that Foul Tongue Invocation.
Right.
Matches up pretty badly against Silumgar Drifting Death, but Ojutai is the one he knows about.
Yeah, reads Haven of the Spirit Dragon. There's Dragon Lord Ojutai. Get a look at it. Hexproof as long as it's untapped, but, it's got a block here.
Yeah, pretty much.
That anticipatability on the Dragon Lord Ojutai, if you get in a position where you actually get an attack with that card, it's pretty hard to claw back from that position. But that's not where we find ourselves now. We find the unfortunate position of having to block something. And then you see Strasky's hand, a Polukranos, a Dragon Lord of Tarka, and a See the Unwritten.
Okay, he's got only the 5 mana. Yeah, he can attack and still play Polukranos. He's got to feel pretty good to trade Radical Mystic for Dragonlord Ojutai, right?
And still
have
have
your
a
Bloom Satyr in
4-2,
play.
yeah. And that's what he's going to do. Strasky did not make it out of the quarterfinals at his last Pro Tour. Looking to change that this weekend. And there's a Polukranos. So he's got 10 power on the board. His opponent's at 3. Not playing a lot of sweepers. Starts adding up his mana.
Let's get a Hero's Downfall and a blue card.
Looks like a plays polluted Delta.
Oh, does he even anticipate? Yeah, he's setting up to anticipate. It has to be for Crux of Fate. So Finn's his library. Not much difference between 2 and 1 if he's all in on finding Crux of Fate this turn.
So he's going to spin the top deck and
Pretty
hope
much.
to find. Hope to find a sweeper here.
There is the Crux. That's the card he needs. It's in pretty good shape if he finds it, right? Strasky's hand is...
Strasky's down to 3 mana with
Tarka
6 and 7 6 and 7 mana casting cost spells. All right, there it is. Card. Did he find the Crux of Fate?
Nope. Keeps in anticipate. I don't know what that one can find. Not while he's at... I believe he's at 1, not 2, because he cracked that fetch land. He's at 3 down to 2
yeah.
still. He can't deal with both of the creatures.
That is game 1-2. Ondrej Strasky he's halfway to eclipsing his finish at the last Pro Tour. But we'll be back and see how that goes after a couple of brief messages.
Ultra Pro is the place to go for all your Magic accessories. With card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios showing off the best Magic art, Ultra Pro is the standard for safe storage. Visit ultrapro.com for more information. Tarkir in the spring. Spring has sprung and the Mardu Rough Riders are traipsing past the Nomad outposts in the latest 20-card pack for Duels of the Planeswalkers. These all-foil cards will amp up your 3-color decks and help you conquer the plane of Tarkir. Visit magic.wizards.com/duels for more information.
All right, welcome back. So these guys are looking at the deck lists, trying to make their sideboard decisions. I had a chance to talk to them earlier in the day before the quarterfinals started and find out what their plan was going into these quarterfinal matches. That plan may have changed. Some of these guys were still playtesting and tuning it, but let's see what they had to say this morning. All right, Andre, this is a pretty tight little sideboard, just 5 different cards to work with. What is your sideboard plan going after game 1?
I'm playing against the Esper Dragons deck. So I'm bringing the anti-control cards, which is 4 Nisas, 3 Xenagos. And then since this deck is called Dragons, I'm going to side this creature that kills dragons. So yeah, it's just... and for setting out, I'm taking out all the Itarkas, which is kind of sad, but... well, it costs 7 mana and it doesn't do that much. And 4 CD Unwritten. That's basically the same. It's cost 6 mana and you hardly can turn on the Ferocious. And the last 2 cards will be either Sylvan Caryatid or Radical Mystic, because you can like flood out in the late game.
Okay. All right, Andre. Good luck the rest of the way in your quarterfinal matchup. All right, I'm here with Andrew Ohlschwager. Andrew, what is the plan post game 1 here?
Currently, my plan is to get the 4 Thoughtseize, the Vault, the 2 Negates, the Downfall, and the Ashiok. So,
How do you get that all in? What are you taking out to make room for that?
I'm cutting the 3 Foul Tongue Invocations from the main. I'm cutting one of the draw spells. I don't know which one yet. So, I think it's either going to be the Sign in Blood or the Dragonlord's Prerogative.
But it'll be a game time decision.
That's what we were just trying to find out, right? That was like, is the Sign in Blood better? Is the Prerogative better? The Prerogative is definitely better when you're like slightly ahead, but I don't know if the Sign in Blood is good enough to catch you up, because you just can't afford to like tap out. Like, oh, you're gonna play Whisperwood. I don't have any answers. Let me dig for some but you still get a lot of value out of your Whisperwood. So,
Okay. All right, Andrew, good luck the rest of the way in your quarterfinal matchup.
thank you.
All right, welcome back. Randy, what do you think here, sideboard-wise, looking at these guys' decks?
I do think Strasky was really worried about his control matchup, and fully 4 Nissa and 3 Xenagos. That's a lot of threats.
Right, yeah. I mean, we watched in the first quarterfinal, Adrian Sullivan, really found his back up against the wall on those planeswalkers.
Yeah, Nissa can be tough to deal with. I mean, she's particularly good against Perilous Vault, which is not really the way Ohlschwager's deck is set up, but still plenty good.
Yeah, we're going to know, actually, have a ton of information about how to side red-green against blue-black by the time these 3 quarterfinals are over, and a good sense of what the best configuration of all of these different versions of red-green and blue-black turn out to be.
Yeah, it's interesting how Strasky just took out the stuff. The signature cards for his deck are the See the Unwritten and the Atarkas.
Right.
But they're also the cards that were trapped in his hand.
Yeah, they were just dead. There was zero chance of him casting those for at least 2 more turns when the game ended.
Yeah, briefly got to 5 mana by flipping the Rattleclaw, but that's as high as he ever got. So those are in the sideboard now. We don't get to see the cool, fancy See the Unwritten into a Tarka package.
Just becomes a much more traditional green-red deck with a couple planeswalkers. What do you think about Ohlschwager's decision as far as which card draw spell? Do you keep the Sign in Blood in? Do you keep the Dragonlord's Prerogative in? I feel like you have to keep the Sign in Blood in, right? Like you just need to dig for cards as soon as possible.
That sounds right to me. I mean, his deck is a little top-heavy in terms of having fully 8 dragons. Yeah, I mean, the 8 dragons make me think you want the cheaper card. Foul Tongue Invocation doesn't seem terrible. I mean, you're mostly going to get an elf with it. So, I mean, I think that's why he's taking it out, since that's all he's ever going to expect to get. But gaining 4 life and killing an elf isn't nothing.
Right. And we saw there it actually really hamstrung Ondrej for a couple turns there. And there you look at the opening hand for Ondrej Strasky. Couple Rattleclaw Mystics.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. The
An
Elvish
elf?
Mystic is, yeah. The deck, if you knew you were going to have Elvish Mystic in every draw, these Green Devotion decks would just be so much better when they have the Mystic.
Dismal Backwater is the opening play here for Andrew Ohlschwager. And he's going to groan a little bit as the Elvish Mystic comes down on turn 1 for Ondrej Strasky. All sorts of flavors comes into play tapped lands for Ohlschwager. Which I guess is maybe another argument against his Sign in Blood.
Sure. Silumgar Scorn, but
A Perilous
Not
Vault,
off this
and
turn.
then a good handful of lands that come into play tapped or do a point of damage to you there.
yeah. So he went Temple of Enlightenment instead of Polluted Delta. He could, in theory, have had Silumgar Scorn up this turn, but chose not to.
There is Courser of Krufix, and that is Sirach the Hunt Caller online and attacking next turn. But that will get scorned or killed or any of 2 options in hand for Andrew Ohlschwager.
Yeah, he continues to go with the comes into play tap lanes, trying to get through that portion of his mana development. Does not have access to Hero's Downfall here. Does have access to the Silumgar Scorn, though.
Yep. We see a land off the top for Strasky that he gets to play off his Courser.
And do you just tap out for Sirach? Kind of a tricky spot, right? Do you just tap out for Pelucranos?
Maybe you tap out for Pelucranos instead and see what
But I
happens.
mean, what you see, blue, he's definitely aware that his opponent has Silumgar Scorn mana. Doesn't know if he has a dragon, doesn't know if he has the Silumgar Scorn. And
he
if
could also,
doesn't,
he could
what is
also
he
play a
doing?
more,
Like,
he could also play a Morph here.
yeah, I mean, knowing Ohlschwager's hand, the best play for Strasky is to play the Rattleclaw Mystic, I think. That said, Strasky doesn't get to know Ohlschwager's hand, so it's a tricky spot. He goes the Rattle Mystic.
And gets to attack for 3 here. Drops Ohlschwager to 19. And has a lot of mana available to him next turn.
Yes.
But Ohlschwager will now have access to his Hero's Downfall.
Well, he's going to go for Perilous Vault.
Yeah, okay.
Taps out, planning to activate it next turn.
Whisperwood Elemental lurking in the wings.
Yeah, no free Courser land.
So do you just Sirach and get in?
I don't think so. I mean, it seems like you want to be able to rebuild after this Perilous Vault. Maybe.
Well, he is going to be able to rebuild. He's got a Whisperwood coming.
Yeah, I guess if you know you're drawing Whisperwood next turn, I think you're right. I think that's what Ondrej Strasky's
So he
thinking.
plays the Sirach. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Drops Andrew Ohlschwager to 9 here.
Yeah, Sirach the Hunt Caller is effectively a lava axe there.
Good.
A lightning shrieker, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah. Crossed out.
So Ohlschwager goes to 8.
He's going to wait to blow the Perilous Vault during Strasky's draw step because he wants to see what the top card is going to be before the Courser dies.
Oh, it's a Boon Satyr.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give Strasky access to the Elvish Mystic's mana or the Radical Mystic's mana. This doesn't.
Which step are we in?
Draw step. Crack vault.
Okay. Activates the Perilous Vault, taps out. Exile your non-land permanents here.
This is the other thing that Strasky's play of Sirach actually does, is it forces the Perilous Vault to definitely get blown. It doesn't give Ohlschwager the ability to, like, kill one creature and move ahead. And Strasky's, yeah, between the Pelucranos and the Whisperwood, he's got enough threats that he didn't mind feeding that Sirach to the vault.
So now we see Scorn, Ultimate Price, Hero's Downfall, 3 lands for Ohlschwager. He plays Price on the Pelucranos, still has mana up for his Hero's Downfall for the Whisperwood Elemental. So, got a little information I can confirm. Sideboard plans. Andrew brought in 4 Nissa, 4 Xenagos, and I'm sorry, it got these mixed up here in terms of names. This is on. Andre brought in 4 Nissa, 4 Xenagos, and 3 Arbor Colossus. Took out 2 Rattle Claws, a Dragon Lord Atarka, 4 Dragon Lord Atarka, and 4 See the Unwritten. While Andre brought in Ashiok Heroes Down. Andrew brought in Ashiok Heroes Downfall, Negates, a Perilous Vault, and a Thoughtseize, taking out Invocation, Silumgar the Drifting Death, and his Dragon Lord's Prerogative. So he kept the Sign and Blood in.
Crux of Fate off the top for Ohlschwager. Andre smelled Hero's Downfall, didn't want to commit to Whisperwood Elemental that turn, also didn't want to tap out and run into a Force Spike potentially. So he went for a couple of Elves instead.
Okay. Here's Crux of Fate.
Non-dragons.
Gets the 2-for-1.
Wow, and Ohlschwager is thinking, he knows there's a Whispered Elemental. He's saying, tap out for it, tap out for it, tap out for it.
He's like, please.
Come on, tap out for it. You know you want to play Whisperwood. I already played 1 Ultimate Price. I probably don't have another one. Tap out for Whisperwood.
5-4? Or should die? The card. Is it 5-4?
He's asking about the stats on Ojutai.
Strasky tested his... Wow, just says go. He's got Boon Satyr in his hands. I mean, I think his plan is end set Boon Satyr. It's pretty interesting. Declines to tap out for Whisperwood. Strasky's played this game really well.
You know, I mean, he's lives in a house with Stanislav Sivka, Ivan Flock, and Lucas Blohan.
No, it's
You know, playing Magic all day long. So
a great point. He didn't do a lot of testing overnight, though. He really trusted his teammates to test the matchup for him.
okay, there's the Boon Satyr.
3 cards still?
And now Sirach represents lethal. Mm-hmm. You can get that in under the Silumgar Scorn.
Right, yeah, it's a 4-drop. Not that he knows about Silumgar Scorn, but he has...
He was clearly
provided-
respecting it.
He's provided 0 opportunities to get 4-spiked. So, yeah, here's Sirach. It can be hasty. Should both these creatures live long enough for Sirach to trigger?
Well, I think what we're going to see here is a dig through time, hoping to find a dragon and
to reveal.
and another spell. Yeah,
There's also still a Hero's Downfall in Ohlschwager's hand, so this dig isn't desperate. Like you say, I think it's more opportunistic than desperate.
yeah, but you know he comes up with like Dragonlord, Ojutai, Perilous Vault. That does not seem bad for him.
Oh yeah, I mean his current hand can only answer one of those 2 cards, so
It resolves?
It resolves.
Oh, it does resolve.
Follow it.
And he downfalls before.
interesting. Does not. Now he's gonna dig.
Yeah, now he's going to dig. So he takes.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
he-
with you. I think digging is a response, and giving yourself the option to Silumgar Scorn as a counterspell. It's at least nice to have the option, right? If this is your plan anyway.
There's a Crux of Fate.
There is a dragon in there. It looks
Yeah.
like Silumgar. Dragonlord Silumgar.
And another Silumgar Scorn. So
Take 4.
he takes 4. He's got counters for the next 2 spells that Strasky might play.
Strasky doesn't have to play anything though. He can just attack with Boon Satyr. He took Dragonlord Silumgar, Silumgar Scorn. So he's basically relying on this Dragonlord Silumgar to solve the Boon Satyr problem.
And there is Dragonlord Silumgar. Take your Boon Satyr.
And the Scorn is now a full-on counterspell.
Yeah. It's like playing Sarah Angel and Control Magic at the same time.
Not bad. Whisperwood runs into the Scorn.
And now the tide has turned in favor of Ohlschwager's, attacking for 7 a turn.
Go.
There's an Arbor Colossus. That's going to get countered.
Yeah, Strasky's still got threats left in his hand, but he's going to run out of time here, I think.
7.
I think that's why.
Well, except I think Ondrej Strasky just drew
Go ahead.
Nissa, World Waker.
Oh, yeah? How about a 6th land? Does he have a 6th untapped
He
land?
drew a 6 land, but it comes into play tapped.
Oh, jeez. But he's only taking...
So he plays the Arbor
yeah,
Colossus.
Gonna go Arbor Colossus. Second Arbor Colossus works. Yeah, he needed the second Arbor Colossus to kind of stem the tide.
Wow,
for a
so the
turn.
Arbor Colossus is going to keep the Dragonlord back. There's an Anticipate.
Yeah, Strasky's last card is Nissa. Man, if he'd drawn an untapped land last turn, he would have just plain won the game. If he went for it. Which I think he would have. I think he would have done that instead of Arbor Colossus. Anticipate finds a Hero's Downfall.
And is he just going to Hero's Downfall here and attack? He is.
Oh
He's going to
my.
attack Ondrej down to 1.
Does he attack with both? Is he thinking about hasty Nissa lands? Wow.
Ondrej Strasky's at 1. there's Nissa.
Thumbs
it resolves.
Up. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness.
Ondrej Strasky advances to the semifinals.
Down to 1 life.
World Waker sneaks it in at the last possible moment to steal the game away from Andrew Ohlschwager.
Yeah, that was grand larceny.
Island. Yeah. That was a huge mistake.
I mean,
At this point, I was like, dude.
Wow, you hear the players talking about
Yeah, the normal post-match decompression.
going back and forth. Wow, that was amazing. You know, we did a sideboard interview with Ondrej Strasky, and he talked about how good Planeswalkers are against the control decks. We saw that actually even in the quarterfinal matchup for Adrian Sullivan, where he was really up against the wall. So the Planeswalkers have really shown here, and we're going to see green-red versus blue-black 3 times this morning.
Yeah, Armor Colossus looked pretty good there too. I mean, not good against the Adrian Sullivan variety.
No,
of
but
control.
against the Dragon version, that was a must-kill card.
Absolutely.
For Andrew Ohlschwager.
Wow.
Wow. So there's only 1 quarterfinal left.
Saved the best for last, didn't we?
How excited are you to watch Shota Yasuoka play against Jason Chung?
Very.
And so much on the line for Shota Yasuoka.
Oh, yeah.
Second top 8 of his career, but someone that people have talked about quite a bit.
It's his 7th top 16. He's got the 18 Grand Prix top 8s and a couple of wins on that side.
Player of the Year title.
A Pro Tour champion.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. We're going to send it back to the news desk where we're going to hear a lot more about Shota Yasuoka and his opponent, Jason Chung.
That's absolutely medium. We are, but not before the 3 of us say a collective wow.
I thought we were going to game 3. I would say pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, 7 a turn. I've got things. I'm digging away with Anticipate. Ian, it's not over till it's over, and Planeswalker did the job for Strasky.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. That's one of the hardest decisions to make when you're playing a control deck. Do you try to end the game quickly, or do you give your opponent an extra turn? Maybe they'll draw something else.
Startling stuff. Let's take a look at our Dragon Tracker. Are we getting towards the century mark for Dragons in the feature match area? 3 matches have gone, 4 still to come. Light the flames, set a match under it. We have 89 Dragons now. I think we're going to get there just about, but it's going to be tight. We'll see. Maybe we need the final to go 4 or 5 games. We'd like that anyway, let's be real. Okay, let's look at the bracket then. How has our morning gone so far? Well, I can tell you that Adrian Sullivan, if you're just joining us, just getting up on your Sunday wherever you are, Adrian Sullivan advanced first. He took out Thomas Hendricks by 2-1, blue-black control into the semi-final. Then you have Martin Dang against Marco Camiluzzi. You would not have had to wait long to see this one because Martin Dang won 2-0 with his red aggro deck, and boy, that was car crash magic. It was so fast, blistering, and commiserations to Camiluzzi. Then we went into the top half of our bracket. You have just seen a massive moment of magic. Ondrej Strasky defeating Andrew Ohlschwager of the United States. Great job by Andrew, nonetheless, to make it into his first Pro Tour top 8. But now Strasky, who was 6th in his first Pro Tour top 8, is guaranteed a lot better than that. He's into the semi-finals, and he awaits with his Green Devotion deck the winner of what we're going to talk about now, which is Jason Chung of New Zealand against Shota Yasuoka of Japan. So why don't we take a look at the resume of Shota Yasuoka, the Japanese mastermind. Such a great player. He's going to play blue-black control. Still only 30, still a relatively young Magic player, still early in his career in some ways. Gold Pro right now. Of course, he's going to be platinum for next year, closing in on 400 lifetime Pro points, and that's one of the many reasons people are considering him for the Hall of Fame. He's going to be over $200,000 US in earnings by the end of today. This is his second Pro Tour top 8, 18 Grand Prix top 8s, and you see the titles there. He's the 2006 Player of the Year, Team Pro Tour Champion Charleston, and the winner of Grand Prix Kobe 2011. So what is he playing? Well, he is on blue-black control. We've seen decks like this before. Luis, walk us through what Shota is going to try and do today.
He's doing just about the same thing that Andrew was trying to do, which was play a bunch of dragons, play Silumgar Scorn, play Foul Tongue Invocation. Shota decided to play 1 fewer color, and as a result has a few fewer dragons, has 6 dragons total, 3 copies of Silumgar split between the Dragon Lord and the original.
Right,
And
so
then
we're missing Ojutai.
we are missing Ojutai, but a 3rd copy of Icefall Regent, which is, amusingly enough, the 2nd most played dragon in the top 8 of this Pro Tour.
Now, why is that such a surprise? Is it because why did that sort of sneak under the radar, if you like?
Well, Thunderbreak Regent was going in the dragon that we thought was going to be among the most played, and Icefall Regent, because it's a dragon in a control color, it is maybe a little bit more vulnerable, so it's still only got 3 toughness. Turns out this is the dragon that people are turning to enable their Silumgar Scorns.
All right, so that's Shota's deck. We'll find out a little more about the matchup in a bit, but if you're going to counter spells, somebody's got to be casting them in the first place. And that man is Jason Chung. Waiting for us over at the far side of the studio is Marshall Sutcliffe, and we're going to go all Australia and New Zealand at the Anzac region. Let's talk with Paddy Robertson.
Thank you, Rich. So I've got Grand Prix Melbourne finalist Paddy Robertson from Australia sitting here. Now, the interesting thing is you're from Australia, but Jason's actually from New Zealand. Can you give us a picture of how the 2 regions interact down there as far as Magic goes?
Yeah, I can do that. Australian and New Zealand Magic is relatively small in the grand scheme of things. We have limited high-level events, so we have 2 Grand Prix a year in the region, or that's in the Australian-New Zealand region, not the APAC region. And so every large event is a kind of community gathering. Like everyone gets together, same faces are there, old friends and late nights, and it's really nice. Like I really enjoy it. And I don't know Jason intimately up until this weekend, but like I've spent a lot of time meeting him and bumping into him, and we've known each other, through mutual friends for a number of years now.
And did you guys do any playtesting together? Are there teams that form down there?
Yeah, so the people break off into their own, little groups, but ultimately people like sharing information down there because it's for the greater good, essentially. Jason flew in the night before the Pro Tour, or the day before the Pro Tour, and we'd been working for the next, the 4 or 5 days leading up to that. He just rolled in, decided that he wanted to play something aggressive. I said that red-green deck had been really good and pretty consistent, and so he just picked it up and did well.
Yeah, he's done very well so far. Now, how did the testing actually go? Did you guys get to throw a bunch of testing going in, or is it more just like getting a feel since you didn't have a lot of time?
Yeah, resources are limited, essentially. Yeah, that's right. I was trying to work it in there somewhere. So we essentially played known decks for the most part. I tried a few different things. I had like a mono-green aggro deck with Teemo Charger to try and force Aspect of the Hydra over the top of blockers. Didn't really work out. I spent a little bit of time brewing, but for the most part, we just played known decks.
Now, what about for testing for the top 8 here? Did you get a chance to help Jason test? Did he just go home and sleep? What was the game plan after?
Well, we went out to dinner, obviously, and he footed the bill, which is the style. He went home not long after that, and we stayed up to about 2 o'clock this morning playing pre- and post-board games.
And then filling him in the morning.
Yeah, we've been playing a few games with him and keeping him up to speed with what we think is going on.
Real quick,
yeah.
How's the matchup play?
Game 1's pretty reasonable since we're on the play. It feels Shota needs to make some interesting mulligan decisions, I think. He needs to actually have interaction on turn 2 to be ahead. Post-board Drown in Sorrow changes things significantly, and the deck turns the corner pretty quickly with those Icefall Regions and Dragon Lord Silumgar. So I don't know if we're going to need the Plummet or not, but I think we will.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Paddy, for taking the time to chat, and we'll send it back to the news desk and Richard Hagan.
Cool.
Great to hear people from all around the world with such a great community down there. They were up till 4 and 5 in the morning waiting for Jason Chung to intentionally draw his way into the top 8. Why don't we take a look at the player profile of Jason Chung then from New Zealand. He's going to be playing his Red-Green Dragons. He's played on 4 teams for New Zealand. That's part of the reason he's up to 74 lifetime pro points and already over $12,000. That's going to at least double here today. Only 22 still. This is his first Pro Tour top 8. Couple of Grand Prix top 8s. Both of those come on home turf in Auckland 2008 and earlier this year 2015. 5-1 in draft, 7-2-1 in standard. Let's get to the deck. It's Red-Green Dragons, and we'll see his list shortly. See what he's got to work with. So Ian, you're going to walk us through this. What's going on in the world of Red-Green Dragons?
So although Jason Chung's deck is also red and green, it's quite a bit different from the other red-green decks we've seen in the top 8 so far. I'd characterize this more as a red-green beatdown deck. He's not using Nykthos to go all the way up to a Tarka, instead leveraging the power of Elvish Mystic to try to play a potent 3-drop like a Boon Satyr or a Goblin Rabble Master and actually beat down and be aggressive. Rounding things out with some dragons on the high end of the curve. It's Thunderbreak Regent and Stormbreath Dragon this time, and that lets him leverage the power of Draconic Roar and also Crater's Claws as direct damage.
In a vacuum, you're saying it's a pretty aggressive deck. Does it have to be even more so because of the fact that he's playing against a blue-black control deck who, in theory, owns any semblance of a late game?
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, Jason Chung is definitely going to be trying to end the game earlier, trying not to let the blue-black deck sort of seize advantage of the late game here. And I think he's actually better positioned than the other green-red decks we've seen so far in the top 8 to defeat a blue-black control deck, just because he's more capable of aggression and he has more reach in the form of direct damage to end the game suddenly.
Luis, from your perspective, how does this matchup play out?
It's similar to the last match we saw, except as Ian said, because Jason is more aggressive, I think it's a little more favorable. A turn 2 Rabble Master, for example, is going to be really, really hard to beat. And cards like Thunderbreak Regent punish you even if you end up killing them.
So this is one where really turn 1 is possibly the most important turn of the whole match, the whole game, in that we're going to see, do we see acceleration coming out of the red-green deck?
Yeah, turn 1 Elvish Mystic definitely changes the character of the matchup for sure. Beyond that, it's just going to be Jason Chung trying to curve out with some nice aggressive options early and try to stay one step ahead of the blue-black control deck, which will in turn try to answer his threats 1-for-1 with removal spells and counter spells.
Luis, blue-black control, a deck of answers against a deck of threats. It's always a difficult deck to master. It's part of the reason that control players love to play it, because of the challenge of it. What should we be looking out for in terms of what watching a master like Shota is compared to when you're playing against blue-black control at your local Friday night matches?
How he conserves removal is one big aspect. Whether he decides to, for example, use Ultimate Price on Elvish Mystic or wait to kill what Elvish Mystic accelerates into. I imagine he'll have tested the matchup and kind of have these priorities straight, but it is tough to figure out.
We will see what we see. Let the chips fall where they may. Here comes Shota Yasuoka against Jason Chung. It's time for our last quarterfinal here at Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir.